Now, these are three subjects, guys, that I'm going to talk about, which would really build on your foundation of being, on your foundation of pursuing law as a career: moral science, civics, and political science. Okay, so we'll talk about civics first. Now, because majority of you have read all of these subjects, so you would understand and you'd be able to really, get a grip of what I am trying to tell you. So civics is, actually the foundation stone for any sort of legal studies that we would want to pursue, or for anybody in India, actually, because even if you're not a lawyer, I think all of us must know at least some basic rights and some duties that we all have, and that's something that's really, really important. If we are not aware about those things, then we definitely need to make good use of internet and read about those things, because otherwise people will not leave any stone unturned to make your life a living hell. So you must know what are your rights and what are your duties. अब बिना duties के कोई rights नहीं होते हैं. So don't think कि बस मेरा right ही right है और मुझे कुछ नहीं करना है. So you will have to do a lot of duties as well. I'm going to discuss those with you too. But yeah, so civics. So the most important concepts that we hear about today: democracy, then government. You read a lot about leftists and rightists and all of those guys, nationalists, secular country, and then socialists. So these are some of the concepts on which legal as a subject is based. Civics will lay down the foundation of very important concepts for you, on the basis of which you will be able to build your legal career and do really well and excel in your legal studies. So all of these important concepts: democracy, citizenship, secularism, fundamental rights, all of these things, it's discussed really in detail in civics. And if law is something that you want to pursue as a career, you must pay a lot of attention and score really well in civics. That's really going to help you. Before I talk about what we study in moral science and how does it really help, I'll talk to you about this one case which happened in 2016. How many of you are aware what is a pill? PIL. Whenever there is a pill or a PIL which is filed in a court, and you can directly file a PIL either in a high court or in a Supreme Court. So otherwise, whatever cases you're filing, you can't directly file them in the Supreme Court, or you can't directly approach the High Court for that. You'll have to go to the lower courts. But PILs, you can absolutely, if there's a PIL that you want to file, you can absolutely either go to a Supreme Court or a High Court directly and file it there as well. So there was a PIL that was filed by a student who was convinced that moral science is something that all of us, as students, should be taught. So from classes 1st to 10th, she wanted that it should be made a mandatory subject under CBSE, and then that's how she filed a PIL in the court. Once this particular thing was filed, so she went there, she explained her concern, and she said that in today's generation, those kids really lack a lot of moral sense, and they should be taught moral science in school so that they know the basics of concepts like kindness and respect and all of those things. So then the Supreme Court asked for records from CBSE, and they realized that even when moral science was taught in schools, there was not a lot of difference that it really made. And that's when Supreme Court said that education is something that falls under the policy matter. That means that it falls under the government's umbrella. So you will have to approach the government, and you will have to let them know that this is something that they can do. And if they feel that that's something which is important, they will probably make a policy around it, and that's how it will be implemented all over India. So that's what they tried to do. And but she was not happy. not at all happy. So she used internet to, voice her concern, and she wanted to really let the government know that this is something that should be done. And then finally, she got an opportunity to speak in the parliament. And when she voiced her concern there as well, something very funny happened. So while she was voicing her concern, she was asked a lot of questions around moral science. She was asked if she's read it herself, if somebody from her family, as a student, has read it or not. So while she was voicing her concerns and she was answering all of these questions, she lacked those basic mannerisms to put forward her point, and that it really felt she did not have anything concrete to comment on it. She did not have any stats to comment on that. And that's when it was, they arrived at the conclusion that this is something which is her personal opinion. It is not something which is factual and is not based on stats. And hence, it was then finally decided that they will not make it a mandatory subject. But if any of the schools want to introduce it, and they want to buy their own curriculum, or they want to get in touch with any sort of edtech organizations and get this as a curriculum introduced in their schools, that's when it was decided that they can do it themselves. But yeah, so it took her at least 1 year, but of course she was a teenager herself. So she really took that time to, she invested 1 year of her life to really reach the parliament, speak with all those dignitaries there. It didn't work out, but chalo, she at least got that sort of an experience. But I personally feel that moral science is a very, very important subject which must be taught in schools. Why? I'll tell you. So, moral science really talks about a lot of important concepts like watering the plants, planting a lot of trees, taking care of the environment, respecting the elders, taking care of our parents and grandparents, teaches us a lot about national character, why we should respect our national heritage and national flag, and all of those things. And these are not just concepts, not just ideologies, not just opinions that I'm sharing with you. There are laws which have been framed around these concepts. For example, there's an environment law, and environment law is so critical, and there are so many punishments around it, that if you're caught cutting a tree, you might be imprisoned for 10 years, and 10 years is a very, very long time. So environmental law is something which is very, very crucial, and there are very few environmental lawyers in India, very, very few, because environment is not something that people really discussed about initially. But now that, with all the awareness that's coming around, so definitely environment is becoming a hot topic in the market, and now everybody wants to be an environmental lawyer. Then taking care of our parents and grandparents. How many of you know that there's a law in India which says that if kids, when they grow up, they ask their parents or their grandparents to leave the house, even if they have the will in their name, they cannot do that, and that's illegal. And if the parents or the grandparents, they approach the court and they tell them that this is something that's happening, the court can overrule the will, and they can ask the kids to move out of the house and give the house to the parents.
No, so
Okay.
you're saying on what basis were the parents told to leave the house? Just the kids push the parents out.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is so common, right? You grow up, their parents grow older, and they want to push them out of the house. So there is this, and the parents can directly approach the High Court for this. And this is an urgent case which is registered with the High Court if a parent approaches them. And within 2 days of getting this case listed, it's heard. And majority of the time, we've seen that the parents win it. And this, because it's an urgent case, it gets solved in a week's time. That's the maximum time that the court gets to get all the facts cleared, all the evidences. And 99% of the time we've seen that the parents win around it. So moral science will actually inculcate a lot of values in us, which I think as adults we all fail to recognize, or maybe we don't acknowledge them, but they've become very, very critical because now the lawmakers, they're very smart and they framed laws around it. So even if you don't want to study the subject and don't want those values, you will eventually get caught if you do something, because they're smart, right? They're smart people, they've already written it down. And then political science, very, very important. Now, why is political science important? Because the basics, or just like the name suggests, political science is going to talk a lot about the constitution, about the government, about the administration. And all these three terms that I've just used, these are very, very important when it comes to law. Because whenever you are a lawyer, or you are a lawmaker, or you're somebody who's directly or indirectly associated with legal industry, you will have to get in touch with governmental bodies, corporations. You will have to get in touch with a lot of public offices and officers and officials. So you will get in touch with all of these guys. But and if you don't know what is their role, or what is the power that they hold, or what are their duties, how are you going to question them? So political science is going to lay the foundation for all the legal studies and concepts that you study when you enter your law school. And I will also talk about this in the last segment that we have. And I will tell you how you can also pick political science as something that you want to specialize in, uh, along with a legal subject, that you can, so you can do dual specializations as well. So I will talk about that too. Political science is definitely going to talk about a lot of important subjects like national emergency, or you must have heard about presidential's rule. Now, for example, Kashmir is one state in India where you will see that, out of the 12 months in a year, probably 11 and a half months, uh, at least before Article 370 was abolished, at least 11 and a half months it used to be under the under the president's rule. So political science is going to talk about what is a president's rule, what is the role of a governor in a state, what is the role of a chief minister, why do they have council of ministers, why do we have a president in the country but we don't see him around that much, why do we only get to see the president when probably during the Republic Day parade, and why is the prime minister the only person who's representing India throughout the world? So you will get to read and you will get to learn a lot of these things, which will help you further in your studies when you pursue law. And all of these things you learn in political science only in your 11th and 12th standard. I've not seen the latest curriculum, but at least till 2019, there were a lot of important topics that the curriculum for CBSE and ICSE touched when it comes to political science. So that's definitely going to help you. If law is something that you want to pursue, or for humanities or arts, don't waste your time studying science and maths and accounts. It's not going to help you at all. Doesn't help me. It's not going to help you either. If that's something that also interests you, or if you want to keep your options open, absolutely you're free to pick it up. But I wouldn't recommend, if law, you've already made up your mind to pursue law as a career.